In a quiet suburban park, the sun beams down as families enjoy their afternoon, laughter echoing through the air. But the peaceful vibe is about to shift when a Navy SEAL named Marcus, dressed casually in workout gear, catches the attention of a patrol officer. Marcus, a decorated black Navy SEAL, is taking a well-deserved break after years of serving his country. Yet, instead of respect, he finds himself at the center of an unprovoked confrontation. The officer approaches with a hardened expression, his tone sharp and accusatory, questioning why Marcus is there. The exchange quickly draws the attention of onlookers, who can sense something isn't right. Tension rises as Marcus remains calm, but the officer's words and demeanor grow increasingly inappropriate. Just when it seems like things might escalate further, Marcus decides to do something that will turn the situation and the crowd completely against the officer. What happens next will leave everyone stunned. The officer's tone grows more aggressive as he demands to see Marcus's ID, insinuating that he doesn't belong in the neighborhood. Marcus, still calm but visibly frustrated, stands firm, explaining that he's just here for a workout. The crowd, now growing larger, begins murmuring among themselves. Some seem concerned, while others pull out their phones to record the exchange. A woman nearby whispers to her friend, "Why is he targeting that man? He's not bothering anyone." Others nod in agreement, sensing the unfairness of the situation. But the officer doesn't relent, misjudging Marcus's quiet composure as weakness. What the officer doesn't know is that Marcus is no ordinary man. Years of training and service have taught him patience, discipline, and the ability to handle high-pressure situations. Yet, as the officer continues to press, Marcus knows it's time to assert himself, not with anger, but with truth that will shift the entire dynamic. The officer's voice becomes louder, drawing more attention. "If you have nothing to hide, show me your ID," he insists, his hand resting on his belt as if to assert authority. Marcus stands his ground, his voice calm but firm. "Officer, I'm just here like everyone else, enjoying the park. I don't have to prove anything to you." His words carry a quiet strength, but the officer seems to take them as a challenge. Among the growing crowd, whispers turn into quiet debates. Some wonder why Marcus isn't just complying, while others question why he's being singled out at all. A young boy tugs at his father's sleeve and asks, "Why is that man in trouble?" His father, visibly uncomfortable, replies, "He's not. At least he shouldn't be." Meanwhile, Marcus notices a few bystanders recording the incident, their phones held high. He knows this moment is bigger than just him. Staying composed, he decides to speak directly to the officer in a way that will force the truth into that. The officer takes a step closer, his posture rigid and intimidating. "Are you refusing to cooperate?" he asks sharply, his tone echoing through the now silent park. Marcus lets out a slow breath, his eyes scanning the crowd. He knows the weight of this moment, not just for himself, but for everyone watching. "Officer, I've done nothing wrong," he says firmly. "I served this country, and I'm not about to let anyone treat me like I don't belong here." The murmurs in the crowd grow louder, with some stepping forward, their phones capturing every second. A man in a suit, who had been sitting on a nearby bench, finally speaks up. "Officer, I think you're making a mistake. This man hasn't done anything to deserve this treatment." But the officer barely acknowledges him, his focus locked on Marcus. Tension is at its peak when Marcus calmly pulls out his wallet, but instead of handing over an ID, he produces something else entirely, a military challenge coin bearing the Navy SEAL insignia. Holding it up for everyone to see, he locks eyes with the officer. "You want proof of who I am? Here it is." The crowd gasps, the weight of the moment sinking in. The officer hesitates, his confidence faltering, but instead of backing down, he doubles down, making a decision that will push the situation to its breaking point. Open. But the officer's next move surprises everyone and raises the stakes even higher. The officer stares at the coin in Marcus's hand, his jaw tightening as the murmurs of the crowd grow louder. It's clear that many in the audience now understand who Marcus is, but the officer seems unwilling to admit he's wrong. Instead, he crosses his arms and sneers. "That doesn't prove anything," he says dismissively. "Anyone can buy something like that online." The comment sends a ripple of disbelief through the onlookers. Marcus's calm exterior flickers for a moment, but he quickly regains his composure. "This isn't just a coin," he says, his voice steady but firm. "It's a symbol of service, earned through sacrifice. But clearly, you're not interested in the truth." His words hang in the air, a quiet challenge that the officer seems intent on ignoring. Before Marcus can say more, a voice from the crowd cuts through the tension. "Officer." Everyone turns as an older man in a crisp military uniform steps forward, his medals catching the sunlight. The crowd parts to let him through, and his presence commands immediate respect. The officer's face pales as the man locks eyes with him. "I suggest you think carefully about your next move," the man says, his voice calm but authoritative. The tension is now unbearable. The officer hesitates, caught between his ego and the mounting pressure of the moment. But instead of backing down, he takes a step forward, determined to save face. And that's when the second twist leaves the entire park stunned. The officer's face is tight with frustration as he glares at Marcus and the man in uniform. "I don't care who you are," he snaps, his voice shaking. "You still need to show me identification." The crowd collectively holds its breath, their phones still recording, the tension reaching its peak. The man in the uniform steps forward, his expression unyielding. "I'm Commander Harris, U.S. Navy," he says, his voice sharp and authoritative. "And this man standing before you is Petty Officer Marcus Reed, a highly decorated Navy SEAL who has served this country with honor." Gasps ripple through the crowd as people realize the weight of what's just been revealed. The officer's confidence wavers, but before he can respond, Harris points to the crowd. "You've been recorded this entire time. Do you really want your actions today broadcast for everyone to see?" Suddenly, Marcus raises a hand to silence Harris. "Let him make his choice," he says calmly, locking eyes with the officer. For a moment, it looks like the officer might double down again, but then the crowd erupts in chatter, their frustration evident. Feeling the pressure, the officer finally takes a step back. "Fine," he mutters, his tone begrudging. "You can go." But as the officer turns to leave, Commander Harris steps forward one last time. "Not so fast," he says firmly. "I'll be filing a formal complaint, and you'll answer for this." The officer freezes, his face pale. The crowd cheers, some shouting words of support for Marcus. Just when it seems like the situation is fully resolved, Marcus looks around at the onlookers, many still recording. "This isn't just about me," he says, his voice carrying over the crowd. "This is about standing up against injustice, no matter where or when it happens." The crowd erupts into applause, but Marcus simply nods and walks away, leaving everyone to reflect on what they just witnessed. As Marcus walks away, the crowd begins to disperse, the tension in the air slowly replaced with quiet conversations and a renewed sense of awareness. Many share the video clips they recorded, determined to shine a light on what happened. Commander Harris stays behind for a moment, watching the officer who now looks visibly shaken. Without another word, Harris gives him a sharp nod, a silent message that accountability is inevitable, then turns and leaves. Marcus heads toward his car, his steps steady, his face calm but thoughtful. A young boy approaches him with wide eyes, holding his mother's hand. "Are you a real hero?" the boy asks, his voice small but full of awe. Marcus kneels down, meeting the boy's gaze. "A hero is someone who stands up for what's right," he says with a gentle smile. "And we all have the power to do that."